This is exactly why being a gentleman is an unfair advantage in today's world. In today's age, becoming a gentleman can help differentiate you in not only business, but relationships and an overall better quality of life. And that is exactly what we're here to discuss today. My name is Gavin, and this channel is my attempt at bringing back everything about becoming a gentleman that I feel like has disappeared in today's world. And today, I want to make the actual case on why becoming a gentleman actually matters, not just as a style choice, even though that's a style I particularly like, but as one of the biggest advantages, in my opinion, to guys right now at my age. I'm 20 years old, and in their early 20s and even in 30s and 40s. And actually, some of it's backed up by research. Studies at Harvard and Stanford have repeatedly found that around 85% of career success comes from soft skills like communication, your presence, and how you carry yourself. And actually, only about 15% comes from actual raw intelligence. And throughout all our life, we learn to get good grades, get a good job, which are all technical skills, which again is around 15%, and what research actually tells us leads to a more successful career. And the other 85% is the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, and the way you make someone feel respected when carrying on a conversation. And I think almost nobody is teaching young men this today on purpose. It's almost like treated as something that you just kind of pick up on accident, or you kind of just fall into, or you don't. And that's exactly the gap that becoming a gentleman fills. And not only the way you care about your presence in terms of your style, how you appear to the public, your grooming, but also the stuff underneath all of that. And that is basically what's deciding everything else in your life. The decline of good manners and basic etiquette, as well as just small interpersonal habits that used to be the standard and the baseline that was common in the world, has been slowly declining and eroding over the past few years. And entire generations are going through the world getting less and less practice with these basic etiquettes, with the style, with the manners, than all the ones before them. And because most of our interactions with people are often now through a screen. And of course, something else is happening in the world, and as AI is taking over more and more of these simple and technical jobs, and as more research is coming out recently, it seems now that companies are actually caring more about these interpersonal human skills that AI simply just can't replace, which would be reading a room, building trust, and making someone feel heard, for example. All this is actually becoming more valuable as fewer people are learning and understand it. So you have something that is disappearing and the market is actually then looking for, and I don't think this is something you should ignore. I believe this is an opening that you as a man should take. And most guys my age are only touching the 15% in college, studying a skill, but then in their free time, they're scrolling social media. They're not out in the real world, building skills, building proper connections. And by networking, guys, I don't mean going out and getting blacked out drunk with a couple other idiots that are doing the same thing as you. I'm talking about building real world skills, and some of that even sometimes comes down to just learning something interesting, like learning to play an instrument, reading more, going out and practicing your communication, whether that's joining debate teams or practicing your speech and recording yourself. A lot of skills today, I believe kids my age at 20 years old aren't even thinking about, and they're more important in becoming successful than you think. And it's really funny to look back at the old days where this type of stuff, learning how to communicate better, learning how to dress better, have better manners and better etiquette, all this stuff was so common. And it seems like today, we're losing grip on what it takes to be an actual functional society. And if we're not conformed together and we're not making ourselves appear a certain way and making sure that we all respect each other and carry ourselves in a certain gentleman and polite way. I believe society is kind of just a bunch of animals then running around doing whatever they want. So how can this show up in your life? Let's start with career. Imagine the guy who walks into the room. He is dressed in a nice suit. He gives a nice firm handshake, holds eye contact, and at the same time holds a nice, calm, intellectual conversation with the person in front of them. He's slow, he's calm, he has a presence to him. He's already ahead of all the other candidates before him without even answering any technical questions yet. And these skills aren't soft. I know they're called soft skills in the sense that they're unimportant, more or less soft because they involve reading people and being good with people. And guess what? It's people that are doing the hiring. Now let's move on to relationships. It seems that chivalry and classic acts of courtesy towards a woman seems to be this outdated idea on the internet. And a lot of it, honestly, is just hate toward women. And in the world, there's always going to be good women and bad women. Same thing, good men and bad men. It's not all one side or the other. So a trap that I fell into when I was younger, watching a lot of the Manosphere content, and maybe a lot of you guys are watching more in the red pill space. All right, so I am in a new outfit, as you can see. So apparently my film cut off in the middle of filming yesterday. So I had to pick it back up the next day. But going back to what I was saying, a lot of you guys may be watching some things in the red pill space about relationships, and it's not necessarily what I'm talking about. It's not being the nice guy all the time or begging for the girl, but it is more about showing respect to the girl, holding the door open for her, making her feel important, making her feel respected. Those kind of things, you just kind of have to find the middle ground, in my opinion, between not being this nice guy that'll never leave her and is obsessed with her, and also being stern, right, with what you want, but also being kind, right? Showing her you care, doing acts of chivalry, doing acts of kindness, because overall, men are supposed to lead, and a true gentleman is a leader. He is very capable, he's multifaceted in his skill set, and being that guy that can lead properly, and us men becoming guys that can lead better and lead society better, ultimately women will become better. So this idea that it's all women's fault, I don't think is necessarily true. I do think it's up to us to be better gentlemen and be better men overall, and in my opinion, they will follow. And my next point is just overall social standing as a whole. The guy who can truly make people feel comfortable around him, who is careful about his appearance in public, is just simply more memorable today when he walks into a room than most guys. And not because he's the loudest in the room and he makes a big show of himself and he's arrogant, more or less because he's composed with his emotions, he's calm, he's in shape, he's well dressed, well mannered. These sort of things, like I've touched on earlier, are rare in today's society. And if you're the guy that can be composed, control his emotions, and be someone that people feel just comfortable around, you not only show that you're confident in yourself, but you actually show respect in the others that you're speaking to. And I believe bringing back this classic masculine identity in today's world is very important, because it seems like we have almost too much freedom nowadays in how we act, what we wear, how we present ourselves. And most guys are just walking around in athleisure clothing all the time. They are not well-mannered per se, and they're wearing pajamas to the grocery store and presenting themselves in a very lazy and sloppy way. And some of that is how we're being raised nowadays. I'll give an example of Alexander the Great. When he was my age, at 20 years old, he was already a feared conqueror. And that should put something in perspective, that your age should not define the maturity or what you're capable of. You should be able to accomplish way more than you think you can at a younger age. And I believe we all have the potential to. It's just in today's society, we're grown and we're coddled to be very immature, very lazy and sloppy. And it's not necessarily our fault, but I think it's just how the system and how parents have been nurturing us because they think college is the absolutely only route that you can go, which I believe is simply not true. And if you are in college and you're doing something and you have a purpose for going to college, then it is still important while you're in college to care about your looks, care about how you present yourself, and have just a better quality of life in your etiquette and your social skills as a whole. What makes us special and how we've achieved so much on this earth is because we have had structure and we have the ability to do something that animals can't, which is conform to a society and a polite and a structure where we have ability to be more formal and caring about how we are perceived. And the thing about this younger generation is that nobody seems to come and teach us this, and especially if you didn't have a certain father figure teaching you gentlemanlike etiquette or what to wear or even how to shave. It's important that we have to bring this back ourselves, and everyone has their own style. So my style is unique, and you'll see some things I like in the future on this channel, and your style is unique. Being a gentleman isn't about wearing suits all the time, and even if you're more of a countryside guy, but you can still put yourself together in a way that's gentleman-like, whether you're on the countryside, whether you're a city guy, whatever it is. Gentlemen are everywhere, and they're all different shapes, sizes, personalities, right? It's not just one thing. It's more or less the etiquette, the manners, and making sure you're well-groomed and well-dressed that really matters. So to summarize this video, 85% of career success comes from things like communication, presence, and how you make people feel. Not just raw talent or raw intelligence, but actually building skill set that is rapidly disappearing in the current culture of the world. So if you're serious about becoming a better, more masculine gentleman, I hope for this channel to be an inspiration to you, and I hope that you actually implement these discipline and these habits that ultimately make you a better person and make you a better man in the long run. And I'm not perfect by any means. I'm not in an authority position to tell you guys what to do. This channel is about me sharing what I believe, my opinions, and my opinions are definitely subject to change over time since I'm just 20 years old. But these are currently what I believe in, what I think is important, and it's just kind of documenting my journey and bringing you guys with me. Hopefully you guys are on this journey with me as well, and I'm really looking to build a tight group of guys that think similar to me, and I would love to network with some of you guys that are ambitious and willing to put in work, and I hope that's what I can make this channel about, and that's who I can make it for. So let me know in the comments which part of this video do you think that matters most to young men today, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you gents in the next one.